Hi everyone, Sam Wenzel here from Sam's Woodland Tours. I'm out today doing a little work, but I stopped and brewed up a cup of tea. I thought while I was doing this, I'd answer a tag that I was in about a couple of months ago actually. I was tagged by Karen from Mama Bear's Backpack, and it was 8 bushcraft questions, and actually there was a bonus question as well, so I'm going to answer those. The questions are, what was your most memorable camping trip? Do you prefer solo camping or group camping? What is your favorite knife? Where did you learn bushcrafting? What is your favorite fire starter? What is your favorite bushcraft tool? Do you have a bug out bag in your vehicle? What is your favorite stove? And then there's a bonus one of, why did you start your YouTube channel? So I'm answering this tag, like I said, a little late, but better late than never. And I do have the notebook with me, even though I'm in 1800s gear with me today. But I'll start off with, what was your most memorable camping trip? And I have a YouTube video on it. It was last spring. I was able to go on a 3-day canoe trip with my father to a place called Fishweir Lake. And I'll see if I can include a link to that video down below. But that was actually a lot of fun, simply because we were able to go to some place that, by evidence, not a lot of people go to. There weren't really any roads to it. It was a little tricky to get to, so not a lot of people go there, and it was really nice. The second question is, do you prefer solo camping or group camping? To be honest, I really enjoy solo camping, but I don't know how to really answer that, simply because I also do have a few groups of friends that I do enjoy going camping with as well. I enjoy going camping with my father, a few friends from school, and actually another YouTuber named Martin Archer. We've been out camping once or twice already. There's a video on my channel, or his channel as well, of actually we were at this very fire pit last fall. So those are the people I enjoy going with. Sometimes I like solo, sometimes I don't. That's not exactly a straightforward answer, but I guess it depends on the people you're fortunate to go camping with, whether you prefer group or solo. What is your favorite knife? Now, I consider that a tricky question as well, simply because, and if anyone's really into bushcraft, some people may have it narrowed down to a favorite. I have different knives for different purposes. Here I am in the tour gear as well, with the neck knife and the long hunter knife. But everyday clothes for just going out for certain hikes when I'm not in period reenactment clothing. Generally what I have on my belt is the Buck 102. I do have that mentioned in a couple of videos and a review on it, and I may add that below as well. But I consider this, I don't know for sure if I'd say it's my favorite, but because it's small enough to carry easily on my belt, but big enough for certain tasks that I generally will do a lot of, I'd consider it perhaps my favorite if I had to answer that question. Like anybody who starts to acquire a few knives, that's a little tricky to answer. The fourth question is, where did you learn bushcrafting? I guess I've been doing it for most of my life. My father, I've been fortunate to grow up in a place where it was easy for me to get outside into the woods. I realize not everybody gets to do that, but my father showed me quite a few things growing up. Other family members, friends, we do stuff, and I honestly had no idea it was called bushcrafting until a few years ago. We always called it woodscraft, wood skills, outdoor skills, and 4-H, things like that. And I did start to research it quite heavily as a teenager, but then I found out here not too long ago it was called bushcraft by a lot of people. So I think that's when I started doing that, from a very young age. What is your favorite fire starter? If you've been watching this channel, you know that very recently, or not actually, I shouldn't say very recently, but the last few years I've migrated, just because I enjoy the historical aspect of it, and how it relates to this region, my ancestors, and I do use it for work now as well. But the old style flint and steel, and I'll just pull this out and show it. quickly. I do use ferro rods sometimes just because they're easier to use. Throw in a bag, have width for your backpack. But and I also do other various forms of friction fire as well, and I do teach bow drill. But I've got my tinder box with my char wood, my flint and steel. That's actually how I started this fire. And I do demonstrations and workshops on that as well. But I'd say just because it's kind of fun and I like the historical aspect to it, that's why I'm calling it my favorite now. And question number 6, what is your favorite bushcraft tool? I'd have to say, and I think I've said this in another video, a previous video from not too long ago, tomahawk. I like so many different tools. I use different tools for different tasks, but the one that I normally take out no matter what, if I'm going camping, hiking, or even just going to do a little clearing brush or something like that, I find myself relying heavily now on the tomahawk, simply because the versatility and the balance. It doesn't have the same weight per se as an axe for your larger splitting chores or something like that. I find if you're doing like a little bit of light chopping, a little bit of light work, the tomahawk, simply because of how light it feels, even if it weighs the same amount as a hatchet, because the weight is distributed a little differently, is really easy and nice to carry. Easy to throw in a backpack, easy to throw in a belt. So for that reason, I've been going with this quite a bit. I have a few tomahawks. This one I use a bit, others I use more, some of the more modern ones, but I have this for days like today. Do you have a bug out bag in your vehicle is question number 7. I guess I do, but not in the sense that most people think of. Certain emergency measures organizations will, such as that one or others as well, will recommend that you have some sort of emergency equipment, first aid kit, water, flares, that sort of thing in your vehicle. So I do have some of that stuff in my vehicle at all times. But I will say that I sometimes have what might be deemed a little bit closer, simply because of the work I do. So often I'll have things like knife, hatchet or tomahawk, fire starting stuff in with that stuff, because I'm going to a place where I'm going to be using that. So sometimes I do leave that just out of convenience. But I wouldn't say I have a bug out bag in the truest sense of the form. Number 8 was, what is your favorite stove? I meant to bring that with because I was going to be filming this today. I remember the notebook with the questions and the knife, but I didn't bring my solo stove, and that's what I was going to use as this answer, and I was going to show it. So what I might do is include a link to a previous video on the solo stove. I've used a few different stoves over the last few years. I've tried out a few, and there's a lot of great twig burning stoves, or even just propane stoves, that sort of thing. When there's a fire ban on, I'll use a propane stove or some form of charcoal burner or something like that. But I like the solo stove. It doesn't fold up like some of the other twig burning stoves, but what I like about it is that once you have the fire in there, it's all contained. And some of the other brands that I've run into, I find that after you get a bit of a fire going, and I see the smoke's kind of going over the camera there, so I'm hoping that doesn't affect this too much. But once you get a fire going, some of the ash and the coals start to fall down through. What I like about the solo stove is the way it's built. It's designed to not heat up too much on the bottom. So even if it's okay to have a fire or a twig burning stove, but you maybe just don't want to mark up the ground or something like that, it kind of is a little closer to the no trace stuff if you're out on a hiking trail or something like that. So I like the solo stove for that reason. The bonus question, so we had 8 questions, but someone added a bonus. Why did you start your YouTube channel? I thought about it off and on for a little while, but what really motivated me to do it was I was in a few people's channels, in a few videos on a couple people's different channels there at the first year of the Nova Scotia Bushcraft Gathering. So Nova Scotia Bushcraft is a not-for-profit organization, basically a group of people who get together online, but once a year in person at a park somewhere in Nova Scotia. And if you're in Nova Scotia or anywhere in the world, actually, I highly recommend you check it out on Facebook. Anyway, the first annual gathering, I ended up in a few videos, and shortly after, some of the people who were coming here for tours, I think it was one lady in particular, looked at me as I was talking and said, "Wait a second, I just figured out where I know you from. I saw you on this person's channel." I think it might have been Mike Barton, and I think she said a couple others. I had shown up in some bow drill demos. So that got me thinking, maybe where I do this sort of thing, the Sam's Woodland Tours, perhaps it was time to start my own channel. So I did, and here we are. And I have had a few people come since and say that they've seen my channel, so I think it might be working, hopefully. So anyway, those are my answers to those questions. And again, I'd like to thank Karen from Mama Bear's Backpack. I might add a link to her channel as well down below. If not, definitely check out her stuff. Pretty good channel there as well. She's also a member of Nova Scotia Bushcraft. Yeah. So now, this part of this was to tag somebody, but since this is another one of those tags that's been going around through the YouTube community for a little while, and I am a couple months behind on this, I will add that I would like to leave this tag open. So anybody who's watching this, if you have an outdoor YouTube channel, or you just want to answer these questions, the Bushcraft questions, go ahead, put up a video, consider yourself tagged if that's something you want to do, and find a way to send me a message or even comment down below, and I'll do my best to watch it and maybe even share it. So there you go. So I'd like to thank you for watching. I'm going to enjoy my my cup of tea now, and as always, I hope you get out there and enjoy nature and have a good day.